I've been a consultant for the last 13. I started an organization within the last year called Classroom U, which is what we're kind of streaming from, and I do a lot of coaching. And so, really, I coach teachers and principals in person, but virtually through Zoom as well. And I've been doing that for years. I even coach in real time. So teachers will be teaching and I will cue them with an earpiece in their ear while they're teaching. So that's very, very cool. I am an instructor for Teach Now, which is an international teacher prep university, and we exclusively use Zoom for our lessons. I am also a certified nutrition coach, and I have a robust online nutrition coaching program, and I use Zoom for that as well. But really, I am an educator and not a tech whiz, but I have developed specific protocols for coaching teachers on high leverage instructional strategies to ensure all kids are learning. And so what I did is I found ways to integrate these instructional strategies, or some of them, into the online learning platform. And that's what I'm really excited to share with you here. I have had, this kind of was an idea that I had because of all my work kind of coaching online. I had a bunch of friends in education they were kind of freaking out a couple of weeks ago saying, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this online teaching? Even my dad, who's a superintendent in Connecticut, called me freaking out a little. So I put together a little training for, like, basically I thought it was just going to be people I knew. And Katie MacArthur, who you guys have already kind of met, is amazing. She is not just a friend, but she is also really very experienced in education as well as communications. And she has been nonstop. I called her up and I said, let's put together a little training for some teachers that we know. 14,000 teachers later, literally 14,000 teachers tried to register for these trainings. And so I upped my Zoom account so I could get 500 in a room at a time. And holy cow, our heads were spinning. So we learned by doing. We ended up doing our last few training sessions and we made it much smaller. So there's only a few, much less numbers on tonight and last night, because we just decided we wanted to keep going, but it was a lot of work to do 500 people. So Katie is going to be monitoring the chat, and she's going to be able to write back to you very quickly. She's amazing. Wait till you see this. If I need to stop or re-explain something, Katie will just interrupt me. Right, Katie? Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So let's get started. So, that's me and Katie. That's us in Montgomery, Alabama. We were doing some consulting work together last summer. So she's in Pittsburgh, I'm in Connecticut, but we literally Zoom every single day, I think. Right? Yeah. All right. So we're going to ask you to stay muted. The cool thing is I and Katie, who's kind of like my co-teacher, we can mute you. So we're going to talk about things that are really cool about Zoom. And some of the things actually are even cooler than the regular classroom. And the fact that you can just mute all your kids is kind of one of them, no? Now, I'm not saying I want to mute kids ever. I am very much about student voice, but sometimes it's nice to hit the button. So stay muted and turn your camera on if you can, because you're going to be muted. I'm going to teach you some cool strategies that don't require their actual voice. And so I want you to experience this like a student if you can. So put your video on if you can. If you have questions, I want you to ask them in the chat. Katie will get back to you right away. Oh, we have Costa Rica here. I'm so excited about that too. We've had people from all over the world. So here's the thing. I want you to get a notebook if you can, so you can take notes. My husband always says that I try to fit 10 pounds of you-know-what in a 5-pound bag. And that is absolutely true today. I'm going to go fast. I'm going to show you a lot. So I want you to be able to engage, and I want you to be able to take down as much as you can. But here's the thing. I'm going to say this again. I'm going to go fast. I have done this webinar now 15 times. And every single time I get the feedback that I'm going fast. And I know I do. I just have so much I want to share with you in an hour. So this is going to be a sprint. So here's the thing. If technology is new for you, if this is overwhelming, all of that, then don't even write anything down. I just want you to sit back and like binge watch this. Like I am your favorite Netflix show right now. And you're just sitting back. And if you want a glass of wine, you can do that too. Don't write anything down. And then we're going to record it. You can go back and listen to it when you're like a little less overwhelmed. Okay. So if that's your case, don't stress. We're also going to show you ways that we can support you afterwards. So ways that you can get in touch with us and our community. Okay, so we're going to do this. I'm going to go through an agenda, and I have a goal for today, just like any good teacher does, right? So as a result of this training on Zoom, you're going to be familiar with various ways that you can use it to engage all of your students. This is different than any other Zoom training out there, because a lot of Zoom trainings are just going to tell you how to use Zoom. I am literally going to show you how to integrate really high leverage instructional strategies. We're going to talk about why Zoom and what it offers. We will go into security stuff, because I know that's always a thing that people are worried about. And trust me, you got nothing to worry about. We'll take care of that. We're going to go on a quick tour. I'm going to talk to you about setting norms and expectations for your class. Some things that we don't think about in online learning, we do in the beginning of school, but we almost are starting school all over again. So there's some things I'm going to help you think about when you're setting up your online class. And if you've already kind of done some online stuff, don't worry. You can always go back and redo this and reset your norms and expectations. And we're going to talk about effective instructional strategies. So let's get going. 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag. Okay. All right. So this is what I want to do. Maricela, you're nodding like, okay, here we go. Right? Okay. So I want to know from you, this is why I want your cameras on. I want to know if this is your first time really digging into Zoom. Let's just say this, if this is your first time on Zoom, hold up a number 1. If you have done this before, then just give me like a shoulder brush. Be like, yeah, girl, I've done this before. All right, Jillian is old hat. Julia's done this before. Jennifer, what about you up there? You've done this? Okay, good. But B. Boland, that's your name right now on there. This is your first time, right? Okay, this is your first time. Good. So that's great. Now I got to see everybody and all of your hand signals right there. So that gave me some data, which is awesome. The first few times we did this, everybody was like a 1, right? But now as we've kind of gone through this a little, most people have done Zoom, at least have been in some meetings, okay? So the reason why one of the reasons I love Zoom is because it's simple for hosts and participants. Miss Boland over there, this is your first time, and yet you got on time, so it couldn't have been that hard, right? And so that's what's important to know. It's a great platform because it's simple for participants like your students to be able to access. We have pre-K and kindergarten teachers doing Zoom classes, so it's got to be easy. It's also easy for you to use as a teacher and to do some very cool things that if you're not technologically savvy are still pretty simple. And it's easily available on Chromebooks, on tablets, and on phones. And it allows for some really creative uses that simulate a classroom, okay? Let me clarify for a second what I mean by host and participant. So here's the thing. I am the host. I'm running this meeting, and therefore I have access to certain options that you won't see or have because you're the participant. So as the teacher, you're going to be the host, and your students will be participants. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing with like screenshots of what I'm seeing, but don't worry that you don't see the same options on your screen because remember, you're experiencing this like a student. Okay. So think of this as like, I have the teacher's manual with like, you know, the stuff on the margins and the extra info, and you guys have the student textbook. Okay. But we're going to send you the recording and every single resource that we talk about, you are going to get the questions that you ask. You're going to get answers to in a separate resource. I'm telling you, Katie is a beast. It's incredible. So I also want, let me show you really quickly. It's so simple to schedule a meeting. And let me show you what I mean by that. This is my Zoom account. I just went into zoom.us. That's their website. And there's all this stuff over here. And I just go to meetings and all I have to do is click schedule a new meeting. And then I just put the date and the time that I want. And that's all I have to do. Then you'll get a link, just like the link you clicked on. That's the link that you're going to get to be able to give to your students. We'll get into more of that in a little bit. You can also record and share your classes. And so I want to talk about that. But before I do, actually, I'm going a little out of order here. You would think I have this all down pat. Katie's rolling her eyes at me right now. The other thing I wanted to tell you is that the reason I like Zoom as well is that it's free to use, but for teachers right now, because of the lemons that we've all been handed, you can upgrade to the paid version for free. So Katie right now is going to do something. She's going to send a link for the information of how you upgrade your account in the chat. Now, there's one reason and one reason only she's doing that. I want to show you how I can share or like pass out papers through the chat. I just shared a document with you through the chat. Now, if you're not binge watching me like Netflix, you can click on it. But then I want you just to minimize it and not deal with it. If you're just Netflixing me, then don't even look at it right now. But I just want to show you how you can communicate back and forth with students and share documents. You can even share like a PDF. It doesn't have to be a link. I'm also going to have Katie send another document to you. It's a tricks and tips from Zoom for teachers. And this is a great tutorial. They have awesome trainings. Anything that you need to know technically, Zoom has a video to show you how to do. But they're not going to show you how to teach like we are. So Katie's going to send you that. But again, you can just ignore it because we're going to send it to you later too. Okay? So let's keep going. So let's go back to recording and sharing. So I'm going to explain to you why I think recording a class is a good idea, but I also want to show you how I'm doing it. So this is my screenshot. I have this at the bottom of my screen, and you can see record right here. I can record to the computer or to the cloud. So let me explain to you what the cloud is. The cloud is like this invisible space that stores files. Zoom has a cloud. And they give you a piece of their cloud for free, but only if you upgrade to the paid free teacher version. So you don't get the cloud if you don't upgrade. Now, why do you want the cloud? Well, if you are on your computer, like a laptop or just a PC or, a MacBook or something like that, then you can easily record to the hard drive on your computer. That's fine. You can do that. If you are on a Chromebook, a tablet, an iPad, iPad or iPhone, you can't record to the computer because there is no hard drive to record to. So you have to record to the cloud if you are on one of those devices. When you record to the cloud, you simply go back to your Zoom account, you go to recordings. Remember before I was in meetings, now I'm in recordings, and look, these are all my cloud recordings. And all I have to do is click on it, and then I download it to my computer. So I would do this when I'm on my computer, download it to my computer. And this is what I'm going to do for you guys. Right after this meeting is over, I am going to upload it to YouTube to an unlisted URL. And then you're going to get the YouTube link for this meeting. Okay. But let's talk a little bit. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now so I can see you all a little bit bigger. Let's talk about why you would share your screen. Record your screen, record your meeting. So I want you to think about this in a couple of ways. One of them is most of my experience in education is in typically disenfranchised communities. And I recognize that access and opportunity to this can be limited in some households, which bothers me a lot. But I do also recognize even with kids that have devices and have internet may not be able to join your classrooms live. There just might be multiple circumstances going on. So recording your class and then sending it to them is amazing. Think about the fact that you can't do that in the regular classroom right now. If a kid misses your class, they miss your class. But now if they miss your class, you can send it to them. And I love that about it. But I also want you to think creatively and really out of the box now. Think about the fact that you can record all the things that you are doing right now. And then I want you to save them, upload them to your own folders in YouTube. And now you have them for years. So think about doing small groups and centers and workstations. They could watch previous lessons that you've had. Or how about this? You don't need a class to run a Zoom class. You could have no students and just run a class and record it. And I'm going to show you all sorts of cool things you can do with it. And it's like you're developing your own Khan Academy. It's like you're developing your own set of lessons that you can send to kids at any time. So you have students in a year from now that are absent, bam, send them a lesson that you've already recorded, or record a lesson next year on what they're going to miss. You can do, like I said, centers and workstations and have these individual lessons that you've recorded with no students on it, and you can send to them. You can do that right now. I have a bunch of teachers that are recording a lot of lessons, and then they're sending it to their students to watch, and then they're doing Zoom calls for office hours. So that's kind of a cool thing to do. I want you to think about sub plans now. Think about this. You could record your lesson so that when you come back to school and you have a sub, your sub can play your video with you teaching your own kids. You can also record a video for the sub and bring her on a little tour of your classroom, show her where everything is so that she knows what her sub plans are. Just think about how we could be using technology in a different way now, which is kind of cool. All right, so let's keep going. 10 pounds, 5-pound bag. All right, so we talked about the chat a little bit. A lot of you already wrote in the chat. The chat is a great option because you can send a message to an individual person or you can send it to everyone. So I love that because I think about my daughter. She's 15 years old. I don't think she's ever asked a question in her entire school career out loud. She's very shy. She has a lot of anxiety around that. But she had a Zoom call the other day and I saw her typing a private message to her teacher asking a question. First time I think she's ever asked a question in class. So I love the fact that it gives a voice to students that may not be using it or feeling comfortable using their voice. You can also private message to them as well. Now, you can turn off that feature as well if you want to. You have the power to keep a lot of things on or a lot of things off. Okay. So here's what I want you to do though. I want you to know, I want to know if you can do this. So I want you to try to send me a private message and tell me where or how you heard about this training. Okay. So I want to see if you can do it. You ready? Go. Send me a private message. Oh, Maria. Okay, good. A coworker told you about it. See? Good job, Maria. What else we got? Jillian, Thomas, and Jennifer and Chandra, and Diane, Natalie. All right. Oh my gosh, you guys are getting it. A lot of people from coworkers. It's so funny because Katie, we just put it up on our Facebook pages and then bam, like all these people. I love it's the crazy interweb there. Okay, awesome. Very cool. All right. So you guys got the private chat. That's great. Let's keep moving. There's also something I want to make sure you know about because this is very cool. We can do a lot of cool things with this. It's called gallery view. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. And I want you to look, if you're on a computer, go to the upper right-hand corner. Or if you're on an iPad, like it might be on the left if you're on a tablet, look for something that says speaker view and gallery view, okay? So I'm going to click on gallery view and I can see, now I have a couple pages of you. You should have seen it when I had 500. I had 13 pages of people. I thought I was going to go crazy. So I have 2 pages of you, which is what I was hoping. And so I can see. Now, what I want to do is give me a thumbs up, hold it up if you are in gallery view right now. This is my check for understanding to make sure that you guys are getting it. Okay, most of you have it. That's good. I really care about 100%, but I also only have an hour. So if you cannot find it, I want you just to write that down. I got to find gallery view. And Katie's has information where we're going to send you about how to find it. Okay, going back to sharing my screen. The reason I love that is because you can see your whole class at once. And I'm going to show you some cool tricks that we can do with that. Okay? So moving right along. Let's look at muting. So I told you before that we can mute, right? We can mute our students. So I can mute all of you at once. Katie is my co-host. She's like my co-teacher. When she came into the meeting, I just hovered over her name and there was a little drop-down menu and it said make co-host. She doesn't have all the same power that I have, but she's got a lot of the same power. And so she can mute everybody as well. We can also click a little button that says, do not allow them to be able to unmute themselves. So I can set it up where you can unmute yourself or you can't unmute yourself. And so you know, I am all about student voice, but that is kind of nice. The thing is, background noise is really problematic. Even a little bit of noise in one person's house is going to impact the whole meeting. So being muted is important for those kinds of things, okay? However, we want to be able to hear from kids. So you got to be able to give them a way to communicate with you. So one way is a virtual hand raise. I want to see if you can find where you can raise your hand. Click participants and see if you can find it. Ooh, Stephanie found it, Nadine and Diane. Maria, good. Jillian and Holland, Shyla, Heidi, Marcella, Marcella, Maricela. Yeah, okay, got it. Sorry, Thomas, great. Okay, so what happens when you raise your hand, it pops up right in front of me. So you know how sometimes you're in your classroom and you don't notice that a kid's hand is raised? You'll notice because it pops right up. Now, this is also super cool. You can't do in a classroom. I can put all your hands down if I want to. You know how it's like, put your hands down. I can put them down or you can put it down. I want you to try to put your own hand down because then, yeah, there you go. A lot of you got it down. And if you can't figure out how to get it down, I can put it down too, but don't worry. I just want you to be able to see those pieces, okay? All right, so I am now going to get into a couple of pieces that are going to fold into some very cool instructional strategies. I told you that I'm sharing my screen right now, right? So I'm sharing my PowerPoint with you. So how I'm doing that is I actually have this screen right here. And I kind of showed you a piece of this earlier, but you can see the share button. All I did was click on the share button and then this white kind of pop-up comes up. And I can share anything that's already open on my desktop. It has to already be open. And I have two desktops because I have two monitors. So that's why you're seeing that. But it's very simple. All I literally have to do is click on what I want to share. So I'm going to stop sharing right now because I want to show you something else. I am going to click share. The white box pops up and I am going to click desktop 1. This is like my first screen. And so what I'm going to show you here, sorry, I'm just Xing out for a second. This is my whole desktop. You can see everything on my screen. You can see my kids, you can see my email, you can see everything that I'm seeing. Now, this is important to know because you may or may not want to share your whole desktop, and you may not realize you are sharing your whole desktop. You definitely want to know what you're sharing. So when I click desktop, you need to know that everything gets shared, but you might want that. Maybe you want something up here. Maybe you want to share a few things. So if you want to share more than one document, you're going to want to have your desktop shared. So like maybe I put this up here in the corner and this is like a timer right here, pretend. Or maybe this is like Class Dojo that I have up here. Okay, here's my email, here's my PowerPoint. Maybe I just want to show you a few different things. So I can do that and you can see me working while I do that. I can also open up a folder and navigate into a certain place. And remember, I can record all of this. So if I want to show kids where to find something on the computer, I can do that by sharing my whole computer. Now, the thing is, you might not want to share your whole desktop. I have been in many a meeting where chats or emails have come through that they did not realize were coming through, and we should not have seen them for one reason or another. So be aware of what you want to be sharing and what your kids, because anything that's open on your desktop, they're going to be able to see. And you can always X out of it. But let's say I just wanted to share that PowerPoint on my desktop. So all I did was click share screen again. And when that white box popped up, I just clicked PowerPoint. This PowerPoint here. And so now you are seeing this, even though it's only a small portion of my desktop, you're only seeing that. And I know you're seeing that because I have a green highlight around it on my end. So I know that is all you are seeing, okay? So just be aware of what you're sharing and how you're sharing it. So now I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go to my second desktop and then I'm going to reshare my PowerPoint. Okay. So as we keep moving, I want to talk a little bit about security because there's been a lot lately around Zoom and the idea that there's Zoom bombers and that people can just jump into your Zoom room. Hackers can jump into your Zoom room and like take over your screen and put pornography up or use curse words and stuff like that. So let me explain to you what actually happened, because I actually saw recently that like New York City schools banned Zoom. And I'm super frustrated about that, because here's the big thing. I have talked to so many principals, superintendents, people in leadership all around this country. They don't know what they're doing either, you guys. This is new territory for everybody. So this is a chance for you as leaders too, to be able to advocate for what you're learning about, because just because something comes down the pike doesn't mean it was fully vetted or understood. So I have a few New York City teachers. I'm trying to get them to advocate for Zoom. The problem is, you imagine having your very first day of school and walking into your classroom at the same time for the first time that your students walk into your classroom. You would never do that, right? You would take time to set up your classroom before they come in the first day. Well, I want you to set up your Zoom room just like you would set up a classroom. Now, the problem that Zoom had is that all of their default settings were open. So it was like your classroom was open to everybody, right? It had no security as a default. You actually had to go in and put security. What Zoom has done is now the default are high security pieces, so people can't just get into your room. So I'm going to explain that to you. But one thing to remember is that anybody that was Zoom bombing was because their link for their room was publicly posted. They can't get your link if you don't post it somewhere publicly. So that was the first mistake. These Zoom links were publicly posted. But a couple things that you can do. First of all, when we're in the meeting, we can lock it. So in case anybody does want to come in, once your student's all there, it's like locking your door. You just click lock meeting. And that is a feature that I have as the host. And it's super simple. It's right where my participants are. I just look for it and click lock meeting. Now, your Zoom room automatically is set now for a waiting room. So nobody can get into your meeting without going into the waiting room first, and you have to physically let them in. So that's the default now. So you're not going to have a Zoom bomber because you're going to know who's coming into your room. But it also password protects your classroom. And that password is generated automatically. And when you send the link, there's a password. I took the password off for you guys in this meeting here. But there's a few different things that you can do to set up security or take away some of the security if you don't feel like you need all of it. And you're just going to go into settings and you're going to scroll. And this is a long, long page, lots of options. I say it's like going to the Chinese restaurant and having all the options available to you. Okay, so when you go here to set up your room, you're going to see all the different things that you have available to you. Okay, so you do not have to worry about the security of this. And if anybody tells you you do, you can send them this recording or you could teach them yourself. When you see the things that you can do with Zoom, you're going to be like, dang, we all have to be using this. Okay. All right. So let's talk about expectations and norms. So just like you do in your classroom, but unlike the first day of school, you'll set, I call them norms. You might call them rules. And you want to set the stage so that you're developing a strong culture in your classroom. The same is true for when you're working online. I want you to be thinking about norms that are always going to be true throughout every class, every day. They should directly relate to the culture that you want in your classroom, and they should be positive. So you wouldn't have always raise your hand. You shouldn't have that in your classroom rules anyway, because let's be honest, that's not always the case. Sometimes you'll have them raise your hand and sometimes you might not. So these are things that should always be true. So one of the things that I want for you to, I'm just going to give you some ideas, okay? You can use them or not, but I just want to see what resonates with you. So one norm that I would want to share with kids is to engage fully. This is very different for anything that they've ever done before and different for what you've done before as well. So making sure you tell them explicitly, what does it mean to engage in online learning? Turn off all their distractions, all of those things, because it's easier to be distracted online, right? Make sure the TV is off in the other room. Things that you don't think you have to say, you have to say. I love this about assuming the best in each other. Listen, you're going to make mistakes on this. Your students might not show up. This might be hard for them. They might not be handing in assignments. We have to assume the best in each other. These are very stressful times on multiple levels of our lives. So assuming the best in each other is going to be important, but here it is too. You need to assume the best in your administrators as well. Like I said to you, they don't know what they're doing either. So if you feel like you're not getting a lot of direction, if you feel like you're not sure what to do, or you're not getting a ton of support, just remember they're working on a lot of stress as well, not just as a principal or superintendent or a district leader, but in every single aspect of their lives too. Okay. So we just have to remember that about each of us. I love these, and you can use these too. Remaining curious and finding the joy in learning. Learning is going to look so different now than it did before, but let's still remain curious and find the joy in it. Ask questions and embrace mistakes because they make our brain stretch. The concept of growth mindset is huge here. And if you are not used to doing this kind of teaching, then you get to say to your kids, you guys, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm learning. And because I'm learning something new, and because I'm going to make mistakes, my brain is going to stretch and I'm going to embrace it. And just like for you, I want you to do that too. So it's a great opportunity to think about growth mindset. You might want to tell them to keep their videos on, because 70% of communication comes through body language. And if we can't see each other, it's harder to connect. Now, if you have photo and video releases, you should be fine. The other thing that I'll say is around equity. We are now entering into kids' homes, and the disparity of wealth and poverty might be very obvious depending on the type of district you work in. I used to work in a district where we had very high socioeconomic status in terms of students and their wealth, and then kids on free and reduced lunch. So if they're going to be seeing their homes, this could be a stressful thing for them. So one of the things I've suggested is just get them in a background that's like a wall, where it's not showing their kitchen or whatever it is. And maybe they can decorate their wall for their own classroom bulletin board. So think about something like that, because that's going to be a potential stressor for kids. They need to be able to communicate with you while you're teaching. And if they're on mute, how are they going to do that? Maybe it's a private message. Maybe it's a raise your hand, whatever it is. Okay. This thing I didn't realize, and I forgot that we would have to even think about this, but my girls on the first day of online learning woke up 3 minutes before class started. So we actually need to redefine what it means for our morning routines. We need new routines, and we have to help them establish that. They need to get dressed. They need to, shower, do the things that you as a teacher normally might not tell them to do. But sending home a checklist of things that they should do before they start online learning is going to be important. This is just a new reality that we're not used to. So little things like that, we don't always think about. Now, expectations are clear and precise directions for each activity. Norms are true all the time. These are going to change depending on what you're doing. So I want you to think about this is the way I always tell teachers to do this, even in the regular classroom. What should kids do with their bodies, their brains, and their mouths, right? And you're going to have to think about precise directions in a different way. Like if you're in pre-K or kindergarten and you're going to have them stand up and do a dance party or do total physical response, they got to be in the view of the camera. You'll just have to help them navigate the physical aspects of that activity. I also want you to think about incentives and accountability. Now, I'm going to start digging into some strategies that will work from pre-K to grade 12, okay? But they're going to have to change based on the grade level that you're in, right? You're going to have to adjust them based on that. But this does work for all grade levels. So just be creative about how you're thinking about this. And incentives and accountability are one of them. So you can send private messages to students who aren't meeting expectations or who need a little boost. Like, hey, Katie, I see you're a little distracted over there. Is everything okay? Do you need anything? Right? Little pieces like that other kids aren't going to hear, which is awesome. If you have Class Dojo, if you use that for points or for incentives, continue to use that as well. You can share your screen and share your Class Dojo right there. In addition, I am a very much believer of 100% kids learning in my classroom 100% of the time. That's, to me, what every educator's goal should be. Just like a doctor, we would never go to a doctor who said, I really hope that I can just get 80% of my patients well. Right? Like 80% is good. It's most of them. You would never go to that doctor, right? So as teachers, it can't be anything less than 100%. Like that's the goal we should always be striving for. Now we're going to be working on that goal until the day we retire, right? And that's okay. But I never want it to be like, it's okay that I didn't get all my students. But 100% is hard. And especially online, 100% participation, achievement, whatever it is hard. So let's acknowledge it and celebrate it. So one of the things that I say is, and I do this in the regular classroom, but I think this is even more true online, when you get 100% of your students participating or on task or answering a question, even if it's not right, then do something like class points. Hold up a piece of paper and do a tally. Or I had a kindergarten teacher had Mr. Potato Head, and she put a new piece for Mr. Potato Head every time they got a class point. And maybe when they get, let's say, 10 class points, they earn a class-wide incentive. I love this because it says every one of you matter. I see all of you, and we're all going to work together to be able to learn. So when you get 100%, it's hard. Let's celebrate it. Now, a low cost, which should be really no cost incentive is what I'm talking about here. So maybe when they get 10 class points, you do a YouTube video or a dance party. I had some middle school teachers doing TikToks with their kids. You could do a tour of your house, for example. That they would love that, right? So I want to think about what kind of incentives could you use that could be really kind of fun and exciting. We had one teacher tell us that she had asked all the parents to have a special snack set aside, and when they got their class points, everybody got to run to the kitchen and see what their special snack was. That took a little extra work and confirmation that everybody had one, but it was cool. So let's do this. I want you in the chat right now, to everybody, not to me. I want you to share. Your collective brains are going to be so much smarter than mine by myself. So what are some incentive ideas that you can think of right now for your class, depending on whatever grade level you teach? What do you think some of your kids would like? Now you can ask them too, but let's share ideas. This is a good idea swap. Ooh, the teacher does a dance. Heidi, nobody shared that one before. That's good. A Just Dance party. Oh, that would be good too. Go Noodle. Katie, do you know Go Noodle? I don't know Go Noodle, but a lot of people have talked about that. Oh, show and tell is a really good idea. Yep. A drawing contest. I love that. A picture of your pet or like your actual pet. Just put it right up in the screen, right? That would be fun. A whole work-free day. A whole day? I was thinking 5 minutes, Chandra. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, TikTok. Okay, good. So keep your ideas coming and do it to everyone so everyone else can see them. And if they see an idea that they like, you can jot it down. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. All right. So now let's talk about a few instructional strategies that I think are going to be really cool for you to be able to implement. So the first one is called whiteboard. Now, this is a screenshot of this is kind of my view. All I did was click share screen again, the same way I had done before. And one of the options that pops up if whiteboard is on, remember I said in settings, you have to go and turn a bunch of things on. You want to turn whiteboard on, but I turned it off for all of you because I learned that the hard way. As soon as I bring up whiteboard, everybody started trying to do their whiteboard, and then 500 people were trying to share whiteboards with me. So you don't have whiteboard right now because I turned it off. But this is what it looks like. So you could see, remember I could share anything that was already open on my desktop, but whiteboard is an option. There's me too, trying to think about what I was doing apparently. So when I do that, let's do that right now because you're gonna see how cool this is. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. You can't see whiteboard, but when I click share screen, that white box pops up and whiteboard is right there. So I can't wait for you to practice this when you're all done with this training. But look, now you're seeing my whiteboard. So that's cool because I now can take my mouse and I could do, now I'm on a mouse, so it's kind of funky, right? I can do this, I can change colors. I can do some stamps. Now, if you turn this on, your kids could do it too. I can type. I can save my whiteboard. So anything I do can get saved. That's cool. I can also, instead of using the whiteboard, I could actually share my screen, let's say with a worksheet or a picture book, and annotate on top of whatever I'm sharing. My kids could annotate on top as well. Now, when I am annotating with a screen share, I can't save that, but you could screenshot it if you want to. Or like I say sometimes, fold up your phone and just take a picture of it if you want to. And so you could do that as well. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to stop sharing. I don't like the whiteboard like that because you saw it, my mouse, it looks funky. Like it doesn't look like I'm not going to be able to do like a whole smartboard lesson with that. So I'm going to show you what I did. I have a little workaround. So I am on my iPad in this room. I don't have a separate, I'm not logged in. If you guys look at participants, you'll see Carrie's iPad as a participant. I just clicked on the link. I'm not logged in. You don't need a login to be able to get into the room. So I just went into the room just like you did. And my iPad is a participant just like you are. Okay. So watch what I'm going to do. Now, I told you can't share your screen right now or do whiteboard because I turned it off. But in order for me to show you this, I have to turn it on. So hands off your mouse. Don't touch anything. I am going to now give permission so I can show you what I'm doing. So here's my iPad. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click screen share, and you can see a white box pops up, and I'm going to click whiteboard. So now I am sharing my iPad whiteboard on the screen. So you guys can all see this. Now look what I can do because I have an Apple Pencil. Now I can use this so much better. I can do so many things. I have a total smartboard in front of me. I can share a screen. I can annotate on it. I can do a whiteboard. I love the idea of like doing an anchor chart. Like, let's say I'm going to just erase what I just did. And let's say I wanted to do an anchor chart of like, let's say I was in Spanish class and I did AR verbs, right? And I did an anchor chart like this, whatever. Okay. And then I did the whole thing. Now, when I do an anchor chart in the classroom, then you hold it, hang it up on the screen, in your classroom on the walls, right? And then kids can refer to it. Well, they can't do that here. So you can just save it. It saves in your photos if you're doing it on a tablet. And then you can send it to them. And then it's like they can have their own little anchor chart to refer to while they're doing whatever assignment that you're having them do. So that's very cool too. Now, the thing is, I know that many of you might not have an iPad and an Apple Pencil. Now, you can use a stylus if you have a stylus with a tablet, that works. But Katie and I did a little research because we found this. This is super cool. Most of these things are $100 to $200, but we found one that was $35. It plugs into your computer, and this becomes your tablet with a stylus. So then you can do whiteboard the way I just did it on my, an iPad and an Apple Pencil, which are expensive. Then you can do it like that for $35. So if that's in the budget at all, either through your school or yourself, that could be a very cool option for you. So I just consider that. Katie's going to put a link in there for that. But the other thing is that I don't love if you don't have a stylus and you aren't able to buy that tablet, I don't love using the whiteboard with my mouse. Even though you can type and do a text box, it's very kind of wonky. It doesn't work that well. So here's a workaround that I came up with. Give me right now, actually, I'm going to ask you a question. And because you're muted, I want to give you different ways to respond. Remember, you could raise your hand. Go back to where you raised your hand before, and you'll see a yes, no. And answer this question. Tell me, do you know Google Docs? Give me a yes or a no by pushing the button if you know Google Docs or don't know Google Docs. Okay, so far, most of you know Google Docs. Okay, great. So if you don't know Google Docs, typically 90% of teachers in a school know it. You can ask almost anybody in your school and they can show you. But you can share your screen with a Google Doc. Type on that instead of typing on the whiteboard, because it's just so much easier to use. Share the URL in the chat. Your kids could open it up and they could write alongside you if you wanted them to. Okay. So if you're only going to use it to type, I would actually use a Google Doc and share your screen. Okay. So we are going to keep going. I'm going to go back and share my screen. Now, this is one of the coolest things about Zoom. Breakout rooms. You can do small group partner work. You can do groups of 3 or 4 or 5 or pairs. You can make groups planned, where you assign kids to certain groups, or totally random. You can even place students in their own rooms and do one-on-one conferencing with them. That is very cool. I'm going to explain to you. In fact, we just had a pre-K teacher do this with her kids. So if she can do it, you guys can do it too. Okay. This is going to take a whole other set of planned and scripted directions. Remember, I said you have to have clear expectations. Well, if you're putting kids into small group rooms, you definitely want to have your expectations very clear about what they should do when they're in their rooms. The nice thing about this is you can have your directions already scripted right in front of you and you can read it. I have everything I'm saying to you already written out so I don't forget anything. But you can't do that in the classroom, right? You can have your script in front of you. You can have that online teaching. You can join rooms by popping in. And when kids are in their small group rooms, you can send out a broadcast to everyone and then bring them back whenever you want. If you have a co-teacher or an assistant teacher, you can put them in any room you want as well. So Katie's my co-teacher. I could put her in any room I wanted, okay? So let me show you how you get to that. So again, this is a teacher manual. This is what I see. You don't see this. And Katie doesn't even see this either. As my co-teacher, she can't do breakout rooms. Only I can. Okay. So all I have, this is my friend Jackie. She's another educational consultant that I work with. We consult all around the country. And I was like, come into my Zoom room. We gotta do a demo. So there's Katie and Jackie. So all I have to do is click breakout rooms. And when I do, this box pops up and look how happy I am about it. So it's super cool because I have, however many kids you have in a classroom, let's say you have 20 kids, it will say assign 20 participants into however many rooms you want. So you just click up or down and it does the math for you right here. So if you keep clicking more and more rooms, it will show you exactly how many kids will be in each room. This is where you click automatic, so it's random. And this is where you click manual if you want to place kids in their own room. So let's say you need to do a reteaching thing with 3 kids. So maybe you put 3 kids in one room with you, and then the rest of the kids are in another room being taught by the teacher assistant, or however you want to do that. So you can do that too. So when you are in settings, you have to turn on your breakout rooms, whether you have the free version or the upgraded version for, the upgraded version that you don't have to pay for. Either way, you have to turn on breakout rooms or you won't see it on your screen. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more. I'm going to show you what it's like to be in a breakout room. We're going to do that with an instructional strategy called the Think, Pair, Share. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question. And I want you to think for 30 seconds independently about this question. And then I'm going to randomly put you in rooms and you're going to share your thoughts with your partner. I will go into rooms and I will listen in, and then I'm going to bring you back, which is super cool. Like transitions take 5 seconds. You know how like you transition, it takes forever to go from small groups into, this is so fast. Okay. I'm going to bring you back and then I'm going to cold call on you to share your partner's response. I'm going to say that one more time. You're going to talk to your partner, and then I'm going to cold call you to share your partner's response. Put in the chat right now to everyone. This is my stop and jot. I'm doing a quick 60-second formative assessment so I can see if you know why I'm doing this. This helps me to teach you better. Why do you think I'm going to cold call you when you come back in? Put it in the chat to everyone. Why am I going to cold call you instead of having you volunteer to answer? I'm good at wait times. So I'm going to wait. Yeah. Jennifer. Yep. Assessment. Absolutely. Diane said to pay attention. Accountability. Nadine. Yeah. Keep you on your toes. Yeah. Yes. So remember, and I said this to you, I'm saying this to you before you go into your breakout rooms, because you know the expectations. Remember, we need to find ways to kids to be engaged, right? Online learning, it's easy to disengage. I do it this way in the regular classroom too, but it's really powerful and even more important online. So I'm telling you, you're going to share your partner's response, because even if I'm cold calling you, if you just had to share your response, you wouldn't really have to engage because you could just share what you were thinking. So you got to give them something to do in these breakout rooms so that then you hold them accountable afterwards. Not a gotcha, but a accountability. I care too much that all of you are learning. So I'm going to make sure that I'm setting you up for success. Okay. So I also want you to think about the question I'm asking in a Think, Pair, Share. It has to be open-ended. It can't be right or wrong, because then what are they going to discuss? If the first partner says the answer, there's nothing to discuss. So here's the thing with the question too. It should evolve. So I have a way of thinking about my answer. And then after I talk to you, my thinking has evolved. And then when we share out as a group, my thinking should evolve even more. Think about it. When you come back to whole group, you could then engage in a Socratic discussion, which would be very cool. So your question should be sitting, if you know the depth of knowledge wheel at all, it should be sitting on a level 3 or 4 so that it's more open-ended, but everybody should be able to answer it. Okay. So coming up with a question is a little hard. I have a Facebook group that a lot of you all are in if you've been to my training, and I just did a training last week on how to come up with good think, pair, share questions. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now so I can get you into some breakout rooms, because I want you to experience this like a student. So what's going to happen is when I assign you into your rooms. Now, normally I would do this in pairs, but what I learned my lesson the hard way after all of these trainings, that sometimes people didn't go into their rooms. So some people were left all by themselves in a room. So I'm going to put about 4 or 5 of you in a room just so that I make sure that everybody's got a partner. And I'm going to randomly do it. I just clicked breakout room. And so when I click open rooms, you are going to see a box that pops up. Click on it so you can join your room. Katie's going to unmute you all so that you don't have to worry about that. And then you're going to talk. And here's the question you're going to answer. You're going to answer this. What about online learning excites you? And what about online learning makes you nervous? Okay. So Katie, you can go ahead and unmute, and I'm going to open the rooms. Go.
What excites me is the new technology and to be able, okay.
I'm Sal. Hi. Okay, I'm gonna go first.
I'll go first. One thing about online learning that excites me is the fact that I can help my kids learn how to navigate the internet a lot better. This time right now that we're in gives them a chance to explore, make mistakes, and learn from those mistakes. One thing that makes me nervous is those kids who aren't getting on as much as I would like them to, whether it be because of like home situations or just a lack thereof or whatever. That's the one thing that makes me kind of nervous, because I don't feel like I'm reaching out to them as best as I could.
Yeah, we're kind of spoiled.
Okay.
And I'm in Florida, so I'm in Hillsborough and Tampa. And you are? You
Miami. Miami,
are?
8th grade.
Miami? Okay, really? That's cool. So I've actually had an opportunity to try new like technology devices and platforms that I probably wouldn't have had a chance to, just with having my own kids and then trying to, to work. And so that's exciting me, because I'm taking all this information. I'm definitely using it next year. So I'm keeping it all in a pile, writing down everything and just practicing and trying. So that's exciting. But yeah, it scares me because some of my students aren't working at all. I don't know how many attempts they're trying, they're taking quizzes, and I don't know if they're really working that hard on it, if they're turning it in, how quickly I can see time, but they asked me to retake it. I don't know. I don't get to talk with them daily, so it's fun.
Right. Hi.
Hi, Carrie.
We were talking already.
I didn't think you were. I'm just popping in. Like when you walk around the classroom. Don't worry.
It's like the kids who try to come up with something to say when the teacher walks by. That's what we're like. Oh my gosh.
All right, I guess we're going back to the normal.
Okay, so people are gonna just get cut off in a second and start coming back into their room, into the main room. So we'll give them a second for that. coming back. I'm going to mute everybody. Slowly but surely, you're coming back to me. How fast is that transition though, right? Like you don't have to like move kids around. You're just be like, you're done. You're just coming back. So it saves a lot of time in the classroom, okay? Imagine how much time you save on that. All right, so I got to jump into a couple of rooms, which is why, let me tell you, with 500, so what ended up happening was a bunch of people weren't in their rooms, and there's a button you can push that says, I need help or something. And I get a pop-up that says, so-and-so in room 2 needs you. And then I can just click a button and go right to room 2, which is very cool. So your students can tell you if they need you. But when we have 500 people on here, I had like everybody tell me they needed me. So this was so much nicer. I was able to pop into a few classrooms. You got to see that I did a broadcast. All of those buttons are right there in front of me. It's really simple to use. And so it's very cool. Now, one little thing that it might go over your head. So if it does, don't stress. But you know how I was in the room in my iPad, right? I could have put my iPad in a room, and then I could go into a room, and then I could put my teacher assistant in a room, and then we could have presence in multiple rooms that way, right? So if you have a phone and a tablet and a computer, you could go into multiple rooms if you wanted to and do some workarounds with that, okay? So let me know. I want to hear, what did you think of that? Put it in the chat. Was that cool? Are you like excited about it? Give me your reactions to that. I'd love to hear from you about what you're thinking. Do that for everyone, okay? Yeah, do that to everyone, I mean, so we can all kind of see. Yeah, it's cool. I think your kids would love that too. It's a nice way to be able to do some small group activities, okay? So Barbara, all I do is I click close rooms, and then the timer automatically starts that you saw for 60 seconds. I could then say close rooms now and bypass the 60 seconds. But when I just click close rooms, a timer automatically pops up for 60 seconds. I'm telling you guys, it's so easy to use, but don't use it for the first time with your students. Like have a Zoom session with your family. In fact, my family and I, before all this happened, every Sunday night we did a Zoom. It was like family dinner, but we always did Zoom together. And now obviously we still do it. But once you know how to use this, it's amazing how you could use it for so many different things. Okay, so we got to do the think, pair, share. Oh, wait, hang on. I want to do a quick cold call to hear what you guys were saying. So I'm gonna have to unmute somebody to be able to do this. But I would love to hear from Jennifer Aiello. Why don't you share what your group, I know she's looking at me like, what? Why don't you share something that your group shared? Everyone else is like, oh, thank God she didn't call on me.
Yes, okay. I think it's a lot of something fun, something new, exciting, learning, trying to figure out how to work it all. Concerns, you know, if we kind of mess up doing it in front of the kids, students. Also, you know, I feel like, you know, depending on what district you're working in, whether or not the kids are able to get on to online. So I think that was like the overall, it's something fun, something new, exciting. We're all learning, but you know, there still could be hiccups.
Oh, there are going to be hiccups. Just expect it, right? Nice job. Jennifer, thank you for sharing that out loud. I'm going to mute you now. But that was like sharing in front of all sorts of people you don't know. So that's why I really wanted to encourage you to also be thinking about recording a class all on your own. Like you really can be your own Khan Academy and send it to kids for those that if you can't do live sessions, okay? All right, so let's keep moving. I have like a minute left, but I will get there, I promise. I might be a minute over. So one of the things that is really important to me is the concept of checking to make sure kids are learning, that you're just not teaching, that your kids are learning. And so think about this. If you're going to a destination you've never been before, you put it in your GPS. If you never glanced at your GPS, you would get lost. You wouldn't end up where you wanted to be. So I feel this is what I always say to teachers in the regular classroom is that you have to continuously check to make sure throughout a lesson that kids are learning, because that at the end of the day is your job. 100% of kids are learning 100% of the time, right? So I did for you a little stop and jot before. You can do a stop and jot just in the middle of your lesson and just do a check to make sure, are kids with me? So what is your question that you're gonna ask them? They could do it in the chat, they could hold up a piece of paper. I would do it in the classroom with whiteboard sometimes. So do a stop and jot. That's gonna be a very quick way of checking to make sure kids are learning. Hand signals. Now, hand signals are, like, I did a couple of them with you. I didn't really do it as a check for understanding to make sure I was teaching well. So we're gonna do that really quick right now. I can see all of you in front of me thanks to gallery view, even though I'm sharing my screen. So I'm gonna ask you to do this very, very quickly. Give me a goalpost if the answer is true. Give me an X if the answer is false. We're gonna do a quick true, false check for understanding. This is how I can tell as your teacher that you've been learning. Okay, you ready? True or false? Zoom allows you to put students into small groups. True or false? Awesome. At a glance, I can see that you guys get it, right? I just did a very quick, that's data-driven decision-making. If somebody didn't know it, then I could go back and reteach, okay? So just think about those quick checks for understanding. Cold calling, we did cold calling before. Make sure you tell them why. It's not a gotcha, okay? It's not about catching kids not paying attention. It is about helping them to be able to learn. So it's okay if they don't know an answer, but it's not okay that they're not gonna learn it. So here's what you do. You ask the question first, then you call their name. A really great way to do it is random calling. So think about this. I love this wheel of names. You can put all your students' names on there, share your screen, click the button, it's like Wheel of Fortune, their name pops up and it goes, yay, and their name is chosen. So you can do cold calling in a way, it holds kids accountable and they have fun with it. If somebody doesn't know an answer though, like if Katie didn't know the answer to something, I might go check in with somebody else. Maybe I'll ask Shyla, and then if Shyla knows, that's great. I'll go back to Katie now and say, hey, Katie, what was the answer? Awesome. It's okay not to know, but it's not okay not to learn. Now, if Shyla didn't know the answer, that's a good check for me to say, maybe I need to re-explain this, okay? I know we're a little bit over. If you have to go, you can go, and we're recording this and you can watch the end of it. But if you can stick with me, this is cool. And I need you like for 2 more minutes. So I very much believe in writing across the curriculum. I very much believe in writer's workshop in every grade level. Kids just going off and writing without our input and our comments and feedback in real time isn't as effective. But when we're online, it can be harder. So I want you to stick with me with this concept around Google Docs. Let's pretend you have 15 kids in your classroom. You have 15 separate Google Docs, okay? You make one for each student. You put their name on it. Now, each Google Doc has its own URL, right? Its own link for the web. You open up a 16th Google Doc, you put all their names in it, and then you put the link next to their names. You share the link for that 16th Google Doc in your chat. Now they open up that Google Doc and they see their name and their link. They click on their link. They are now in their Google Doc. This takes a lot of directions for them. They're in their Google Doc. Now you have all 15 open. They start writing. You can see in real time them writing while you have all of them open. You can make comments. You can even put them each in their own room and go jump in and do one-on-one conferencing with them. All the while having your 15 documents still open, seeing that they're still writing while you're in a one-on-one conversation with the student. You can do writer's workshop this way in a way that you couldn't even do in the regular classroom. So I think that's pretty cool. And if you can wrap your head around that, that's awesome. If you can't, go back and listen to this, or you can ask later because we'll show you how you can get in touch with us to ask us that. Last thing real quick is just exit tickets. Make sure you're thinking about at the end of a lesson, how do you know kids learned that day? Okay, this is not enough about I taught it. Now it's their responsibility to learn it. It is, did my kids learn? And if not, how do I adjust? Okay, so you might want to use the chat, hold up a piece of paper, use breakout rooms, do one-on-one kind of quick verbal responses. Okay, so just think about how you're checking to make sure kids are learning. Maybe they send you an email with a response. Okay. So ways to get in touch with us. We started a Facebook group about maybe a week ago, right, Katie, I guess? And all the teachers were like, we want to be able to have more information. We want to be able to learn more and share and ask questions. So I want you to be on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, do a dummy account and just join the group. But it's great. There are questions. When you click join group, there's a couple questions we want you to answer just so I know that you're a teacher and you're in there for the right reasons. These poor 6 people can't get in because they never answered the questions. But this group is great. Today I did a live on classroom management. It's not about just Zoom. It's about, this is what I do. I mean, I work with teachers on instructional strategies and classroom management. So today I did a live about classroom management. So we're doing a lot of different things in this group, and it's great. We also have an Instagram page that we announce our next trainings. We do kind of a lot of like tips and tricks and stuff like that. So following us on Instagram would be really important as well. If you're on Instagram, Katie will put a link in there if she hasn't already to do that. So I just want to leave you with this thought. Martin Seligman was a psychologist that a few years ago helped teachers recognize that we could teach character strengths. We always knew that, like, you know, certain strengths like curiosity and self-control, perseverance, and grit were really important. But he figured out that we could actually learn it and that teachers could teach it. So about 7 years ago, I was traveling around the country teaching teachers about but that they could teach character strengths. And it was right when growth mindset started coming out, and teachers were like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. But how do we do it? There was no curriculum, there was no textbook, there was no policy, there was nothing out there about it. Now there's a lot of stuff, right? But when we first started doing this, there wasn't. And Martin Seligman said this. He said, if you care enough about something, you will figure out how to make it work. And I recognize, I told you guys before, we were all handed a whole big bowl of lemons. The bottom line is we have had people from all over this world on this training, and it blows me away because we all have the same lemons. Whether you're in Rhode Island, Connecticut, Costa Rica, or Singapore, we all have the same bowl of lemons. That's never happened before. So we have a choice when this is all over. We could either take advantage of this and literally change the face of education the way that we know it ourselves. We don't need policy. We don't need curriculum. We don't need leaders or politicians to tell us. We have an opportunity to do this ourselves, because let's be honest, our classrooms look the same as they did in the 1950s. We could really do some creative, crazy, awesome things. And so you have an opportunity to make lemonade, and everybody can make lemonade a totally different flavor. But what I want to know is at the end of all of this, if you're going to have a pitcher of awesome lemonade, or if you're just going to have rotten lemon sitting on your counter. And if you care enough about your kids learning during this time, if you care enough about figuring out how we can make this work, then we're going to do it. And we can do it together. That's why we have this group. And I want you to share your lemonade recipes. What are you doing in your classroom? What questions do you have? Because not only are you going to be able to share your recipes, but other people will share theirs, and you're going to learn some cool recipes for lemonade as well. So I'm very humbled and honored and excited that I have been able to kind of offer some of these ideas to you, but now you guys are the ones that have to go out and do it. Katie and I are going to be by your side. We really want to continue to support you. But we want you to feel encouraged to know that this could be really cool, as scary and as hard as it is. So that is all I have for you. I'm excited for you to go out and make lemonade, but I really want to know your recipes, and I know each other. Y'all want to know each other's recipes too. So I am technically done, 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag, but I'll stay on for a few more minutes so you can either ask a few more questions or kind of give us a little bit, any feedback if you want to share. This is our last webinar, but you can share the recording that you get. So when we send you the information in an hour, right after this, Katie and I work really hard to get it all together. We will upload it. You will get an email. If you don't get an email, because some people have their firewall blocked for some reason, you can go to our website and enter in your email address, and you will get the recording and all the resources. You can share that with anybody you want that wasn't able to come to the training. Tomorrow night, we are doing a one-time training for principals or leaders in schools on how to effectively run a virtual staff. So it's not about Zoom, but it's about building culture, relationships, and supporting your staff during this crazy time. So myself and one of my colleagues, William Sprankles, is a leader right now in a district doing this. And so we have some really great sentence starters and ideas and support strategies for leaders. So Katie will put a link for that training. I would encourage you to share that with any leaders that you have. We only have a few more spots left. We're keeping that very small, but if you have somebody interested, have them go and see if they can sign up. That is awesome. I'm super excited that you guys have all been here. We hope that you'll stay connected with us. And if there's anything else, it looks like I think you guys are good. Oh, you're also welcome. I'm looking at your chat now. I appreciate you all. I'm glad I have a voice to be able to say some of this stuff and to share. So many times I just get to work in the schools that I'm at. So thank you guys so much. Hablo español for those in Costa Rica. Bye guys, it's nice to see you. Oh, here's the thing. You can click leave meeting, or this is super cool. I can click end meeting and I can kick y'all out of my classroom. Talk about another fast transition. That's awesome too, right? All right, you guys, I told my husband he had to have a glass of wine for me because it was my last one. So I'm going to go get my wine and I'm going to leave y'all. Bye.